Welcome to the deep dive. This time you sent over something pretty interesting, a bit different maybe.
Yeah, it's this list called Murphy's Laws in Sex.
Right. Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So this is applying that kind of humorous, sometimes pessimistic vibe to, well, sex and relationships.
Exactly. And it's not like a how-to guide or anything. It's more a collection of these wry, maybe cynical observations about how things often play out.
So our mission here is to unpack some of these laws from the list you shared. We'll look for themes, maybe some surprising insights into human nature. Keep it engaging.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were curious about them. And honestly, reading through this list, it's quite something. A mix of funny, depressing, and weirdly accurate sometimes.
Okay, let's dive in. First step, looking at attraction in relationships. The very first law on the list is, the more beautiful the woman is who loves you, the easier it is to leave her with no hard feelings. Wow, okay. Thoughts?
Well, it's immediately provocative, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sort of hints at, I don't know, perceived value.
Mm.
Like maybe the idea is if she's seen as highly desirable, she'll have other options easily.
Uh-huh. So it lessens the guilt or the weight of leaving.
Possibly. That seems to be the cynical implication. It suggests maybe less emotional investment is required or perceived as required. It really goes against the grain of, deep connection, making it harder to leave. What did you think?
It struck me as potentially being about insecurity, too. Like, maybe the person leaving thinks the attractive partner won't be hurt because they can easily find someone else. A justification, perhaps.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Or the person being loved feels they constantly have to live up to something.
Yeah.
It's definitely cynical.
Very. Okay, then there's law number 7. Sex appeal is 50% what you've got, 50% what people think you've got. This one feels pretty relatable, actually.
Oh, absolutely. It nails the subjective part of attraction. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You have your inherent qualities, sure, but how you project yourself, how others perceive you, that's huge.
Like confidence, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. Confidence can totally change how someone is perceived, even if nothing physically changes. It's about the internal state influencing the external perception.
Yeah, perception becoming reality.
Hmm.
Okay, number 15. The qualities that most attract a woman to a man are usually the same ones she can't stand years later. Oof. See this one play out much.
You do hear about this, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how context changes things. That initial exciting spontaneity.
Right. Later becomes unreliable.
Uh-huh. Or that charming independence turns into emotionally unavailable. The trait itself hasn't necessarily changed, but the needs of the relationship or the person have.
Yeah, the priorities shift. The thing that drew you in becomes the thing that pushes you away when you're, trying to build something stable. It's like the volume gets turned up too high.
It's a good way to put it.
Then number 46. A man can be happy with any woman as long as he doesn't love her. That's quite a statement. Pretty bleak.
It is bleak. It suggests deep emotional connection is actually an obstacle to, well, happiness. Maybe defines happiness as just less drama, less vulnerability.
Yeah, maybe it's confusing contentment or lack of conflict with actual happiness. Love brings complexity, vulnerability, potential for hurt.
Right. So maybe this law is cynically saying avoid the deep stuff for an easier, if maybe shallower, ride.
Hmm. And then number 58, love is the delusion that one woman differs from another. That's just peak cynicism right there.
It really is. Just throws the whole idea of unique connection out the window, like partners are interchangeable.
It's so reductive. Is it just hyperbole for effect, or does it reflect a genuinely jaded view some people hold?
Hard to say for sure from just the line, but it definitely challenges the idea that we choose partners for specific, unique reasons. It's a provocative one.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit. Theme 2, the actual act and experience of sex. Law number 3 says, no matter how many times you've had it, if it's offered, take it, because it'll never be quite the same again.
This one's about novelty, isn't it? Or at least the uniqueness of each experience. Mood, circumstance, tiny physical differences.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that it's always slightly different.
So embrace the moment, because you can't perfectly replicate it. Less about expectation, more about appreciation.
Yeah, I think that's the spirit. Don't assume it'll be just like last time, good or bad.
Yeah,
Be open to what it is now.
makes sense. Then law number 4, simple, wishful. Sex has no calories.
Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah, the universal dream. Pure wishful thinking, tapping into that desire for pleasure without consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Funny because it's obviously not true.
If only. Okay, number 9. Sex is like snow. You never know how many inches you're going to get or how long it is going to last. That's quite descriptive.
It's a vivid analogy, isn't it? Captures the unpredictability. The inches could mean, intensity or satisfaction, and the duration. It's
Well,
straightforward.
right. Sometimes it's a blizzard. Sometimes it's just a dusting. You just don't know beforehand. It grounds it a bit, takes away some of the mystique or pressure.
Exactly. Brings it down to earth.
Number 16. Sex is dirty only if it's done right. A bit cheeky, this one.
Yeah, definitely playful. It hints that maybe the really good stuff involves shedding inhibitions, maybe breaking some conventional rules or ideas of propriety, getting a bit messy, perhaps.
Suggests that proper or clean might be boring, that exploring the less sanitized aspects is
Yeah.
part of the fun.
That seems to be the implication, a nod towards transgression, maybe.
Okay. And number 27 in this theme. There may be some things better than sex and some things worse than sex, but there is nothing exactly like it.
This one just highlights its uniqueness,
Yeah.
right? It's a fundamental human experience, physical, emotional, psychological, all wrapped up together in a way nothing else quite replicates.
Yeah, it stands alone in the spectrum of human experiences. Fair enough. All right, let's look at some of the advice in this list, practical or maybe not so practical. Number 8, no sex with anyone in the same office. This sounds less like a cynical law and more like solid HR policy.
Huh? Yeah, this one's pure pragmatism, isn't it? It speaks directly to avoiding a whole world of potential complications. Power dynamics, gossip, conflicts of interest, messy breakups affecting work.
Oh, yeah. The potential for fallout is just huge. Definitely seems like advice born from a bitter experience somewhere along the line.
Probably. Then number 14, never sleep with anyone crazier than yourself.
Okay, also sounds like caution, but crazier is doing a lot of work there. Very subjective.
It is, but the core idea seems to be about seeking some level of emotional equilibrium, maybe.
Yeah.
Avoiding relationships where there's a huge imbalance in stability or, well, craziness, however you define that. It hints at the potential for drama.
Right. Be mindful of the emotional landscape you're stepping into. Makes sense. Number 18 is surprisingly sweet. The best way to hold a man is in your arms.
It really stands out, doesn't it? Amidst all the cynicism, it's this simple, direct acknowledgement of physical affection, of intimacy.
Yeah, just basic human connection. It's a nice little moment of warmth in the list.
It is. Okay, then number 35, which is just logical. You cannot produce a baby in 1 month by impregnating 9 women.
Huh. It's funny because it applies cold, hard logic to biology. Like, nope, doesn't work that way, buddy. 9 women can't knit a sweater faster than 1 either.
Exactly. It points out that some things just take the time they take. You can't brute force biology or project timelines.
A reality check. And finally, in this section, number 45, never say no.
Uh-oh. This one feels potentially problematic.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, you could read it as be spontaneous, embrace life, which sounds fine, but taken literally.
Yeah, it completely ignores boundaries, consent,
Right.
potentially harmful consequences. It's provocative, but as actual advice, very questionable.
Definitely needs a massive grain of salt. It highlights the tension between openness and, basic self-preservation and respect for others.
Agreed. Okay, let's move into the really cynical stuff about love itself. Number 29, love is a hole in the heart. Ouch. Yeah, that's bleak. It frames love not as fulfillment, but as lack, a void, or maybe the vulnerability that comes with it, the potential for heartbreak creating that hole.
It's a really melancholic image. Doesn't suggest warmth or completeness at all.
Not in the slightest. Then number 36, love is the triumph of imagination over intelligence.
The idea that we fall in love with an idealized image, not the reality, that emotion overrides logic.
Precisely. It suggests we project qualities, we use our imagination to build up this picture, maybe ignoring flaws or incompatibilities because the feeling is so strong. Rose-tinted glass is firmly fixed.
Happens all the time, probably. We see what we want to see. Then, interestingly, number 37, which we all know, it is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
Yeah, it's almost strange to find that one in this collection, isn't it?
It really is. It's like, even amidst all this jaded commentary, there's this concession that the experience itself, even with the risk and the pain, has value.
Exactly. It suggests the depth of the experience is worth the potential cost. A little flicker of hope, maybe.
Or maybe just acknowledging a fundamental truth even cynics can't ignore. And finally, number 56. There is no difference between a wise man and a fool when they fall in love.
This points to love as the great equalizer, right? Intellect, wisdom, common sense. Apparently, they can all go out the window when strong romantic feelings hit.
Yeah, it suggests everyone's susceptible to acting, well, foolishly when they're deeply in love. Rationality takes a backseat.
Seems to be the idea.
Yeah.
Love conquers all, including maybe your better judgment.
So, looking back at this whole list you sent, these Murphy's Laws and sex, the overall tone is definitely humorous, often pretty cynical, sometimes jarringly so.
Absolutely. It's far from a romanticized view. And there are contradictions, too. You get these really harsh, cynical lines right next to something almost practical or even, like we saw, kind of tender.
It feels like a scrapbook of different, maybe jaded perspectives on the messiness of it all.
Yeah, and it's key to remember, these are presented as observations, right? Not endorsements.
Right.
They're holding up a mirror to the less flattering, more complicated aspects.
Darkly humorous reflections, maybe?
Exactly. A counterpoint to the fairy tales. Whether you laugh or cringe or nod along, they make you think.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into Murphy's Laws in sex, based on the lists you brought to us, we've touched on attraction's complexities, the unpredictable nature of sex itself, some practical and maybe not so practical advice, and a heavy dose of cynicism about love.
Yeah, we looked at laws about perception versus reality, how feelings change over time, workplace wisdom, the potential pitfalls of love, and its sometimes irrational power.
Ones that stick with me. Definitely the snow analogy, you never know how many inches. Just feels so bluntly honest. And love is a hole in the heart is pretty potent. Plus the office one for sheer practicality.
Yeah, and for me, the one about initial attractions becoming later annoyances rings very true. And I like the contrast provided by the best way to hold a man is in your arms, that little moment of sincerity.
So the final thought, maybe for you listening, is which of these, if any, actually resonated? Did any feel uncomfortably familiar or maybe just amusingly absurd, and why?
And maybe consider, does looking at these things through this kind of dark, humorous lens actually help?
Yeah.
Does it offer a different way to understand the complexities, the contradictions, the imperfections?
Does humor, even cynical humor, give us a useful tool for examining these really fundamental parts of being human?
Perhaps it's a way to acknowledge the difficulties, the disappointments, without getting completely bogged down. A shared nod to the absurdity of it all, maybe?
Definitely something to think about. You might even have your own laws based on experience, though maybe keep those ones to yourself.
Huh. Probably wise.
Thanks for sending this fascinating list our way and for diving into it with us.
My pleasure. It was illuminating.
Until the next deep dive.